Hello Jet Setters, I'm Jeb Brooks with greenergrass.com, and I thought I'd make a video today that is totally different to anything I've ever made on this channel before, really, and it's how to make a trip report. You see, I get tons of comments and emails and Instagram messages asking how I approach this hobby, I guess I'll call it, this genre. And so for what it's worth, I thought I'd go over it. I think it's appropriate to start with what I think are kind of three categories of trip reports. First of all, I think there are the blog types. These are the ones where people just write either on their own website or a forum, maybe take some pictures and post about their trips. I like to think this is the granddaddy of the whole thing. This is where it all started. Next up is a category where people film their trips and perhaps put some captions underneath them to highlight some of what they experienced. And then the third type is what I do, which is a little more, I guess, vloggy. Is that a word? Vloggy? In any event, that's what I do. And so I choose that particular path to make trip reports, not because it's, good, bad, or indifferent. It's just the ones that I like to watch the most. The fact of the matter is this: you don't need tons of equipment to do this. You need two things. You need some kind of a camera, and an iPhone will be perfect, and a willingness to take the first step, which is to make a trip report and put it out there. Now, this is what held me back for the longest time. This is what held me back from putting out and getting started years ago. It was just that I didn't have the confidence to put it out there. And as soon as I did, I just realized how much fun it was, how much pleasure I got out of sharing my experiences on airplanes around the world with you all. So I hope that you'll, if there's anything holding you back, I hope you'll take that first step. If you are doing it, then I think you'll agree with me. It's a blast. But what I want to do is walk you through what I use. Now, I'm going to include a link to an Amazon Shopfront or storefront, I think they call it. Now, it's important for you to know that if you do purchase something through that storefront, the channel gets a small commission on it. Now, everything that comes into the channel in terms of revenue, this is in accordance with my sponsorship policy, goes back into the channel to make better content for you. So if you do decide to buy something on that channel, know that it will provide some entertainment for you moving forward. All right, iPhone. I use the iPhone 11 Pro now, which has been a real game changer. I absolutely love this camera because of the wide-angle lens. And the reason is because I used to use a DJI, I always want to say DJI Osmo Pocket. This guy right here, which was a great tool for boarding footage, lounge footage, and stuff like that. But one less camera certainly helps. So the reason I liked this and like this even better is because I want to be unobtrusive. There are a lot of passengers on planes who are traveling for one reason or another. They don't need me distracting them from whatever is bringing them in the air. So this is even better when boarding because it's just a phone. But I needed something that was good in low light and something that again was unobtrusive. So I picked up this Sony RX100 Mark III, and I used it for a long time. It was great in low light, really compact, great camera, had the flip-up screen, so when I was doing this number for my opening scenes, it was a little easy to frame up my head because it is big. What has happened, though, is I decided it was time earlier this year to invest in something a little bit more substantial. So I wanted to go the 4K route, and I opted to go with this guy. This is a Sony a6500. Now it's got a Sony E-mount lens that goes from 10 to 18 millimeters, and you might be able to see my Delta seats in the background there. But this is a great wide-angle lens that does a really nice job getting the whole cabin experience in a relatively compact way. That doesn't always work though. If I'm on the ground and I want to get some footage of airplanes, I use this telephoto lens that's also a Sony E-mount, goes from 18 to 200 millimeters as image stabilization. This does a nice job. If you remember my air traffic control video, that was the first video I used this, and I was still getting the hang of it. I still am, for that matter, but I really do like this piece of equipment for a lot of reasons. Next up is a GoPro. I use the Hero 7 now, and here is a key trick. This was such a valuable lesson learned. I wish I'd learned it before. But what you want to do is take some electrical tape and cover that red flashing light. Otherwise, you get this annoying light on the window reflecting back to you. So, pro tip. Next up, and this is really, I think, if I were going to invest in any equipment at all beyond just like a phone for the camera, I would get some kind of a mount for the window. And you can certainly get them for your phone as well. I'll do a little research to figure out which one I started with and put that in the storefront. It's not there now, but I'll add it. But I use this GoPro mount, which is perfect. It's compact, relatively compact. It does a nice job of keeping that footage stable as long as I don't accidentally delete it, as I did for the Korean first class video, which was most unfortunate. I still regret that, but these things happen. I mean, you know, nobody's perfect. Okay, next let's talk about audio. Oh, man. Audio. The bane of my existence. Everything on my channel I've learned myself, mostly through YouTube, by the way, and also Skillshare, who was a sponsor on an earlier video. I mean, that's really been a game changer for me, honestly. I've learned everything myself. I go back to my Qantas flight from Perth to London. One of the best experiences, one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had, I should say. Really, I feel really good about that video, but the audio is so bad. You see, I got sick as a result of that trip. It sounded great to me as I was listening to it through my congested ears, but you know, based on the comments I get, like probably weekly, even now, you know, more than a year later, I could have done better. So I've learned a lot about audio. Let's talk about it. My style is that I typically shoot a couple of scenes, maybe, certainly one, the opening scene, with a heads up in public. When I'm on an airplane, though, I don't really record much in the way of audio. There are a couple of exceptions to that, like if I'm in a first class suite or enclosed cabin or something, not a lot of people around or nobody's sleeping. But for the most part, I try not to record audio on the plane. So I haven't had a whole lot of need for this lavalier mic. There have been several videos, including my Emirates first class video, where I knew I was going to be doing a lot on there. So I had this guy. This is a Rode Video Mic Go, which I like a lot in certain circumstances. But my voiceovers, I use this Rode NT USB mic, which is great quality. I bury myself surrounded by pillows like in a hotel room, and to deaden the sound, which is better than it is in here. I'm working on this space. Anyway, and I record audio into a mic like this, which is really, really great quality. There's a sofa over there that I use. I do the same thing if I'm in this space. Next up, critical things. Now that I'm shooting in 4K, I go through storage like it's going out of style. So I use these SanDisk external hard drives. These are 2 terabytes a piece, and I mean, they're absolutely fantastic. I love these things. They take up no space at all, which is key given that we're making trip reports and we're traveling. I also use these guys, these SanDisk SD card to USB-C converter. This thing's vital, really speeds up my process. This is another trick to the trip reporting trade. We get amenity kits, which are perfect storage for all this stuff. So here's Swiss First. I use this for all my GoPro stuff. I use this Singapore thing. It's perfect for this telephoto lens. I use a Royal Air Maroc 60-year amenity kit for basically all my wires. Love these things. That's a cool trick, I think. What do I use in terms of software? Two main things. First of all, I use Final Cut Pro 10. I really wish I'd started with Adobe Premiere. I think that's a little bit more intuitive, a little better. But I started with iMovie and then moved up from Final Cut. Which at that point, all you need is iMovie, and it's free if you've got a Mac. I'm sure they're free software on PCs as well. And I use Photoshop a fair amount as well. Look, the reason I do this is twofold. First of all, threefold. First of all, I love to travel. I love the sense of community that comes out of having this channel. And then the third thing is just how much I love the creative opportunity it is to share these experiences, to put these stories together and build these videos. So again, look, this is a totally different kind of video than I've ever made before, but it's really to help the small subset of you that might be interested in how I do this, because maybe you're thinking about doing your own. Now you shouldn't don't copy anybody in terms of their trip report. Be authentic, be yourself, be who you are. Number one. Number two, you don't need all this equipment. you don't need it. You can certainly start simple. That's where I did, and you can continue simply. I think, I made a video fairly recently, the CRJ 550 video, which was largely just on an iPhone. You don't need all this. It's just I kind of geek out on it. It's kind of fun to learn about. And then finally, if you do use that Amazon storefront, I would certainly appreciate it. All that revenue goes back into the channel to produce more good content, and there's a lot of exciting stuff coming soon. But anyway, I thought you'd enjoy this little tour of equipment. As always, between now and the next time, see you in the sky.